For this project, you guys are going to create a stained glass inspired painting using some really interesting material, including roofing paper. It will create a beautiful black background for your stained glass design. To get started, you need to find an image that represents a symbol to you, something in your life, something important to you, a part of your personality, something you're interested in, because we are focusing on symbolism in this project. You're going to print out an image of that symbol, and you are going to lay tracing paper on top of it and start tracing out geometric shapes. We are focusing on an abstract design for the background, and you want your symbol to look like your symbol, but a simplified version of it. That will help it blend in with your abstract background and give it a stained glass feel. I chose a hummingbird for my project. This symbolizes my grandmother to me, so it's a personal symbol. And I've seen them a lot around my house this summer, so it's just a special part of the time of year for me. You can see that I'm following the shape of the hummingbird, but I'm trying to break it down into more simplified shapes. I chose kind of a cylinder shape with an arch for the top of the wing. I've broken the body down into 3 shapes, so just play around with it. You can go through as many sheets of tracing paper as you need to complete this design. You can layer them on top of each other and just play around until you get a design that you like. Once you're satisfied with your tracing, you're going to take that design you created and you're going to redraw it onto your sheet of tar paper. When you start drawing it, think about the position. Do you want your symbol directly in the middle of your sheet of paper? Do you want your sheet of paper to be vertical or horizontal? What works with the shape that you chose? I decided to place my symbol slightly above the center to create a stronger composition. As you draw your shape, you can make minor adjustments as you need. Remember, you're drawing with pencil. You can always erase whatever you don't like and start over. Once you finish drawing your symbol, it is time to focus on the background. The background of your design will be inspired by the Sagrada Familia. Think about the abstract design used in the stained glass at the Sagrada Familia, how there were geometric straight lines combined with circles, and how they kind of intermix and intertwine to create this really interesting abstract pattern. Think about what shapes and design you would want to include in the background of your stained glass piece. Think about where you want your lines to originate from. Do you want them to come from the center of your symbol? Do you want them to come from one point, or do you just want them to crisscross all over the background? Draw in different lines. You can erase them, add to it, play around with it until you're happy with your design. Don't forget, you will be filling this in with paint, so you do not want tiny little spots. Keep your spaces pretty large so that you have enough time to completely fill in your painting with paint. When you're ready to start painting, pick out your colors and think back to the Sagrada Familia. Think about how they used colors that were close to each other on the color wheel. These are analogous colors. Instead of putting random colors next to each other, you will not find a section where there's a blue right next to a red. You're going to have some purple in between there because it creates a nice transition from blue to red. It's less harsh and the colors blend really beautifully together. Think about our color theory unit. Think about color schemes and colors that work well together. You could have a stained glass piece that's all cool colors, all warm colors, that uses analogous colors. You could incorporate more of a rainbow if you want to, but I want you to make sure that your colors are next to each other as they would be on the color wheel. Keep those analogous colors next to each other to create a nice transition from color to color in your stained glass piece. When you're ready to start painting, start with the background first. Finish your background before jumping into your symbol, but keep in mind what color you want to paint your symbol. You want to make sure your symbol works with your background, but also stands out. You could use similar colors, or you could pick a color that stands out against the rest of the background for your symbol. Carefully paint in your stained glass design. Remember, you need to leave black lines between each section so that it looks like a stained glass window. A stained glass window has those black pieces separating the sections of glass and holding it all together. You want to mimic that design in your painting. Use your pencil lines as a guide. If you do not paint over your pencil lines, at the very end when your piece is dry, you can erase those pencil lines and you will see that black line space between each color section. As a tip, use the edge of your brush and slowly drag the edge of your brush along the edge of a shape. This will make a nice clean edge to your painting. I would trace around the edge first and then start filling in the center with your paint color. Remember, go slow, take your time, and pay attention to where you're painting, because once you put paint down, you cannot erase it. Remember, as you continue to paint your stained glass design background, try not to make shapes too small. If you realize when you start painting that a shape is too small, you can paint over that line and adjust your design as you go. Also, make sure the colors are next to each other as they would be in your color wheel. If you look at my background, you'll see green is kind of blending into blue, and I'm starting to blend blue into purple. We want to have that Sagrada Familia style where the colors work really well next to each other in the design. One tip I have that I always tell students when they start painting is to never use a color straight out of the tube. This is especially important with tar paper painting because it creates a really interesting texture when you mix more than one color together to get a new color. This means you could have a green that you really like, but maybe you paint a little bit with that base green color and then you mix in a little bit of white. So there's a little bit of a color variation. This is also very helpful since you're doing this analogous color pacing where you have colors next to each other as they would be on the color wheel. To get to another color, you can mix two colors together to get it in between and keep doing that with multiple colors until you get a nice even transition. With just 4 colors, you could end up with an endless range of colors just by slightly mixing different amounts of those colors together and even adding a little bit of white at times. If you look at my color palette, you will see how much I'm mixing my colors together. Look at all those blobs of paint and those different colors I've created from the amount that I started with. Once you finish your background, it's time to start painting your symbol. Think carefully about what colors will work well with your background so that your object doesn't completely blend in. The black lines that you're leaving between each shape will be very helpful if you decide to keep more of an analogous color scheme where your colors blend together more. Your shape will still stand out a little bit. You could even leave a little bit of a thicker black line around it to really help it pop. Here, you could also use a complementary color. If you had a mostly blue background, you could choose to paint your object more of an orange or a red-orange color. I decided to paint my hummingbird more realistic hummingbird colors, which also works with my cool color scheme. A hummingbird sometimes will have this blue-green color to it, so I decided to stick with that. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow that kind of breaks with the cool color scheme, but still works with the analogous colors, having that blue-green-yellow look to it. When you finish, enjoy your beautiful, amazing, completed work of art. You should be so proud. It turned out amazing.